Hi guys, this thing has 4 things on it, so it's hard content, but it's okay, because I brought my jacket.
Why, hello there, Exile. When I started this character, I wanted to make a character that was super easy to play after long days of work. We basically just hold down one button, which allows us to move, then we freeze a monster, that starts a chain cascade with our heralds, we blow up multiple screens, and then we collect all the loot. After this very quick demo, I'm going to be explaining everything I think is important about the build and answer all the frequently asked questions about the build that get asked over and over and over and over and over and over on stream. Now, some of you probably are wondering, there will be a patch soon. Is this getting nerfed? Absolutely. You are on extreme levels of copium if you don't think there'll be at least some level of adjustment. Maybe to quarterstaves, definitely to some of these items. I don't think having a build where you invest in attributes and it makes you fast, insane AoE, takes care of all your damage, and gives you a large effective health pool is in their vision. Nor do I think it's good for the long-term health of the game. This build and the Spark build are just so far ahead of other builds that it's like, how do you even balance that? You're not even interacting with the bosses, you're full to zeroing them before they touch you. Like, what's the point of the bosses if you just delete them? I don't understand. So they just can't, it's not gonna be good for the game, guys, okay? They're gonna have to nerf it. After the patch, I'll do a follow-up video testing if this is salvageable. This build was set up for mapping, but we did some changes and we were able to kill Xesht on stream, and I'll discuss those swaps for the setup at the end of the video. That's enough gameplay for now. You can watch any of the YouTube live streams and any of the build vlogs if you want to see how it progressed. Let's get into the real meat and potatoes, as they say. I'm going to experiment with a completely different style for this video, where I kind of just go off these notes and kind of show you things in game. I don't know how it's going to turn out. Let me know in the comment section if you like this style or not. On stream the other day, we removed a bunch of items so that people could see exactly where the damage was coming from. I think it's the best, easiest way to illustrate where the power is and how strong some of these items are. Let's start by keeping all my gear and removing these level 52 terrible gloves, as Elon would say. You know, not even close to my level. Look at my damage. Yeah, they're pretty good, Elon. A lot of the damage is coming just directly from the gloves, and that's because some of the attack speed, but more importantly, the flat damage. That flat damage per lightning is then scaled by this 10% increased weapon damage per 5 strength. Now, I'm optimized for speed, so I'm using a staff that is 8% attack speed with even more attack speed. This is more advanced setup staff. This is the staff that I was using previously. If we swap those out, I lose like 10k damage, but it's still pretty close. If you don't have flat scaling on rings, then I highly recommend starting the build with a staff like this, where you have Corrupted Cold, and then you put in 2 cold runes, or Corrupted Cold and put in 2 attack speed runes. Now I'm going to swap in this staff that's just 1.5 attack speed. We go all the way down to 39k. So you can see just wearing the staff at all is really powerful because you're getting attack speed from this and that weapon damage scaling that synergizes with the gloves. If you actually want to do pretty well, you probably want to start with these gloves and this staff, but you could technically play it without and just using the staff scaling right now, but you would have to have flat damage of like 2, pretty high, 2 to 3 on each ring plus the gloves. In order to do that, you're probably better off just running a fizz staff and then waiting and farming out the gloves. Now, I'm wearing this chest piece, and it has attributes per rune in it. It has 4 runes in it, so this is 20% increased attributes. This is worth a huge chunk of my damage as well. Then the other important pieces, look at this amulet. This amulet right here, because it has int implicit, all attributes, dex and int, those are the important ones, plus the anoint, gives a huge chunk of our damage. Then look at this ring that I have. It has flat damage and it has 3 attributes. We take that off, we're losing a huge chunk of damage. And the other important part is my other ring that has 2 attributes on it, not as important as the other one. So all of these pieces of gear, even this is giving us like 10k, even though it only has 22 strength, My boots have 27 intel on it. It's given us like 8K. So let's reduce ourselves down to just a few pieces. And you're going to see like every single piece really matters. So now we're at 21K with just these two. If you just cap res and are on this, this is still okay damage. 21K isn't bad. And since I don't have any other flat, if I swapped in this, this would help us freeze until we have better scaling. So we probably want to, after we get these two pieces, pick up a good amulet. Pick up at least one really solid ring. And then if we can afford it, pick up some sort of attributes of our jacket, as Mr. Musk would say. Everyone else calls it a body armor or chest piece, by the way. That's why it's so funny. After this, you could just basically cap res with everything. Like, this is really good damage. I cleared the campaign. By the way, I have one extra link here for rage. This gives me 30% more damage, so my damage is even higher than this. This is like double what I cleared all the tier 15s on and did my first Xesht on. Okay? Absolutely overkill. And that's how insane this build is. So we're going to put all of our things on. I like calling everything things now. It's just going to be a meme. I just really can't help myself. I don't know why I find the Elon stuff so funny. It's just really fun to me. And pathetic and sad, but really funny. How much does my build cost right now? Well, this is kind of expensive. Not 100% necessary, but allows me to pick up everything that I want in these rings. That's what this jewel does. And I'm going to go ahead and refund these passives really quick. Let's look at our damage. This node right here is giving us 15k damage. If we remove these, this jewel does give a sizable chunk of damage. Like 21k. Is it 100% necessary? No. And I didn't have it until quite recently in the build. It's still completely playable without it. It's one of the last things that you should worry about or buy in the setup. I also have this jewel here, which is helping me to cap res. And there's other alternatives to these where you could maybe pick up these two nodes, and then you'd have 4 nodes, and you can get extra cold damage to help your freeze, or whatever you want. Percent int per notable. Maybe pick up Megalomaniac to get some of these. I don't know. So there's quite a bit of min-maxing that you could do. I also don't have the unique belt. And people are like, James, did you know ingenuity is a good belt? Yeah, I'm broke. Okay, I'm broke. A good ingenuity costs more than my entire setup right now. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. All right. I just completely wandered and forgot that I was supposed to be following this. All right. It's going to be chaotic. Okay. Let's see here. Where does the damage come from? Take items on and off. We kind of did that. 2 uniques. They're optional. We did that. Why am I not using this or Astromentus? I'm broke. Yep. Is this getting nerfed? Yep. All right. Okay, we're going to talk about gear. This is a little bit of a suggestion right here. So Howa and Pillar, chest and amulet and rings. These are the main things to focus on. The focus on capping res. What kind of bear is best? I mean, Pillar is best. False, black bear. But, well, it depends what you want to do. It depends on your other gear. That is the truth. When you're first starting out, if you do not have cold implicit on a ring, you probably want to go with a staff. It'll help you freeze. Later on, you probably don't want to. The optimal damage one is probably a corrupted one with 12% increased weapon damage per 5 strength, and then you put in 2 attack speed jewels into it. I want speed, so I went with 8% increased attack speed, and then double attack speed. Okay, let's talk about helm. So what about 3 dragons, James? 3 dragons works. Okay, did you notice my freezes? I don't have any problem freezing things. So how am I doing the freezing? Okay, we're getting ahead of ourselves here. Initially, I was using this, but I have flat damage on this, cold damage on this ring, which is part of it. So you need some amount of flat cold damage. 1 ring should be enough with a good roll. I have this node here. You don't require this, though. And I anointed this. Also don't require this. Just 1 ring. 1 ring to rule them all, but no. 1 ring with like 20 to 30 cold is probably going to take care of the cold part of the requirement. And then you need some freeze buildup. So I have 40 freeze buildup here, and then like 5 or 6 of my jewels have freeze buildup, and it's combined freeze buildup about 100. So the more freeze buildup you have, the less cold damage you can get away with using for the chain cascades to work or the initial freeze. Right now, since I have this and flat cold damage on there, I sneeze on them with my Tempest Flurry and they freeze, and I'm getting very, very high consistent freezes on the chain cascade. How does the chain cascade work? You're basically taking your Herald of Ice, which cannot freeze, and making it shock, so you need to make it lightning. And you're taking Herald of Thunder, which can't shock, and making it freeze. We have this nifty little tool called Cold Infusion and Lightning Infusion. So you put it in the opposite color one. So that adds, not color, opposite element would be more appropriate. This thing adds tons of cold damage. So you look at the cold damage, 651, which is still probably enough, honestly. We put this in and it just goes way, way higher. Then I have this. So when I freeze a single enemy, I get cold damage for 3 seconds. And then also this one, when I kill a shocked enemy, I'm getting lightning damage for 3 seconds. So I have more AoE, lightning damage, extra lightning, and then lightning pen. Don't really need the 4th socket for the lightning pen, but in some maps where it's like 50 all res, it's nice to have. And then the opposite here, Ice Bite, Cold Infusion, more freeze build up, and then Cold Pen. Okay, so let's hear. We talked about this. Okay, here. How to freeze, get chain cascading, cold damage plus freeze built up, make Herald of Thunder cold, make Herald of Ice lightning. If you're still having problems, transfer some of your dex and int into strength, because that will increase your flat damage part for the hit. So if you have low cold damage and a little bit of flat, don't be afraid to do that. Okay. So we're back to why are we using the helm, right? Which I jumped around. So we don't need 3 dragons because our freezes work fine. What about Black Sun Crest? Very, very good for attributes, and I use this on bossing. However, I want my rarity. I'm running 104 rarity, and it's a huge noticeable difference. In my just hour and a half, 2-hour play sessions that I did on stream, I usually dropped 1 divine or a couple of greater orbs, or I dropped a perfect jeweler's orb on many of the streams. So rarity right now is just too good to pass up, and that's why I'm going with this. If we look at the damage, we're at 131, and I take this off, I'm at 123. This does put me to 153, so there's a 20k increase. But I'm so far ahead of the damage that I need to clear maps that it's ridiculous. Like I said, I cleared so much of it on like 38k, 40k with Ice Strike on my Invoker Monk for my first character. So like this damage is just ludicrously high. You don't need this. It would just be clearing maps. Rings. So rings, you're looking at 3 stats and then flat. Ideally, you'd maybe want rarity or mana or life, but those are nice to haves. When you're first starting out with the build and trying to just get it going, just focus on attributes. Now, this could be 2 of them within all attributes as well. Just focus on 2 good rolls when you're first starting out with maybe 1 resist roll. That'll be good enough to get you rolling. Same with your other one. Go with like 1 attribute roll and 2 resist rolls, and then you won't need the unique jewel that I had. Amulet, you're looking for implicit of some stat or all stat, and then all attributes with 2 different attributes, ideally, or you could go with 3 different attributes. Now, all attributes is much better on your amulet because it can scale higher than it can on rings, so keep that in mind. If I hold Alt here, you can see that it's 18. Rings only go up to 13 on the max roll. Okay, back to our notepad. Amulet, we talked about that. Jewels, we talked about the 2 unique jewels. For my other jewels, I'm just using freeze buildup with some flat damage. Oh. Yeah, I forgot to add that in there. 1 second, guys. Okay, we want 2% life recovered on kill, and at least minimum 2% mana recovered on kill. I don't care if it's 2 different jewels, 1%, 1%, or just 1, 2%. I think I have 3%. That's why I'm pretty much like never dying, because even if I take big hits, as long as I continue to go forward and kill things, it will top my health back off. So you can see here, I have 1% mana, and then this is 2% life. And then I think I have another one. There's another 2% life, so I actually have 4% life. I think I have another mana one. Yeah, 2% mana, so it's 3% mana. Yeah, so I have 4% life, 3% mana. So that's huge. Even if I'm really low life, if I kill 1 or 2 monsters, it's going to give me a huge boost. And then if I kill a whole pack, it's just going to completely top me off. Very, very important for making your mapping experience smooth, because you don't have to worry about mana. If you're having mana problems anyways, outside of that, you're going to want to reduce your Tempest Flurry in level. So run like a 16 or something. Consider taking up these 3 nodes right here. Mental toughness, mana regen, and right here, because this gives you reduced mana cost while not on low mana. We also want this, less cost of skills, because we're attacking so quickly, it's just going to drain our mana really, really fast. I'm also using in here this less cost inspiration. This here I was using previously as an early one, but I would use rage. Use rage and then grab this as your very last socket, because it has a cost multiplier on it. This is basically, after you have the rage, it's a 30% more multiplier to everything, and this is local to it. So this is actually a little bit better if you have no other source of rage. Okay, gems. So for the setup, I already started doing that. Tempest Flurry, martial tempo, so you attack quicker, rage, less cost, crescendo. Do I notice crescendo? Do I need crescendo? I have no idea. I can't really tell a difference between me moving or not, and I don't know if this is good at all or necessary at all. And then finally, primal armament. Armament. I could talk, I swear. Then I'm going with 2 bell setups. So that was another thing on my list. 2 bell setups to get as long as you have overabundance in, right now you can get infinite amount of other bells. After they patch that, which will be in the next patch, you can get a second bell. Right now I have a utility bell, but it's kind of pointless because I attack so quickly that this is only up for a second or 2. So I'm better off putting like stun or something else in here, but whatever, we're just setting it up for there right now. But I have overabundance, more damage if they're on low life, more damage with less area, and then close combat. This is a cost multiplier, so don't put that one in until you're doing stuff that's going to help you with your mana issues. Then I just have the fonts, so mana font, font of blood, and font of rage. I do have a different setup for this on my bossing setup. Now, other than when I first did the breach, I didn't even use charge staff. I really don't need it. I mean, it's kind of nice to like range things, but I'm rarely at my current damage ever pushing this except for on bosses. So charge staff, persistence, electrocute, culling strike, and perpetual charge, so you don't remove the charges. How are we getting the charges? Well, we have this, which converts frenzy charges into power charges. And then we have combat frenzy with extra charge from this. And when we freeze, electrocute, or pin something, then we're gaining a frenzy charge that gets converted with this into the power charge. So that is how you're able to use charge staff. If you aren't freezing anything, which you could freeze your own bell, by the way, to be able to get charges, it seems, unlike the bosses. We already went over the heralds, but I'll just mouse over them really quickly. Then we have this Hand of Chayula setup. So I still have my other setup that I was using in the boss. So for my kill, I went with Voltaxic Spark. This gives an increased effect of shock. Enfeeble, this is really nice because with increased effect, it's going to make the unique monster do less damage, or the rare monsters do less damage. I really only do this on bosses, but it's a huge mitigation. 20% less damage is nothing to sneeze at all when it's so hard to get mitigation in the game right now. Now, conductivity. This was the big thing that let me kill my Xesht before he even did hands. That's because monsters have some sort of resist, and I was able to push his resist actually negative doing 100% damage. If they have 50% resist, they're actually taking half damage from your elemental damage. So you need some form of pen or lightning resist. Now pen, and I made this mistake myself, pen only works to reduce it to 0, unlike in POE1 where you could push them negative. See here it says penetration only goes to minimum of 0. So this cannot push them negative. So my first ice character, I didn't realize this, and I stacked the crap out of cold pen. And then my damage was poopy, and I had to go crit. You live and you learn. If you're having trouble putting heightened curses make sure you put one cursor into Hand of Cheula. Now in today's video, other video, I explain what weapon swaps are. Well, I can't talk today. Weapon swaps are. And I have it on my second weapon so that I have these curse nodes on it. Go watch that video. It explains that tech that I'm using. So I hit that, and then I go back to this, and it swaps weapons. Watch. Hit it, 2. Go back to this, 1. Frozen Locus is just here because it does this. It looks baller if you don't run into walls. Whee! You can move so fast with this build. So much faster if I actually had good gear. I'm still on pretty budget gear. I don't have the Astramentus. I don't got no ingenuity belt. I ain't got no. Whee! Okay. Back to serious topics. Multiple bells. I'm running out of mana. What should I do? Already covered it. Should I add a 5th or a 6th link? Maybe the 6th link for your main setup. Otherwise, probably not. Weapon swap, have video, covered that. How can I level this? When can I start playing? Well, you see, as Elon Musk would say, this is a level 0 staff, so it's a pretty bad weapon. No. But you could just equip this at the start. There's a unique belt that gives you strength. There's an armor that gives you dex that you can all equip at the start. And then you're going to pick up one of these rings. Where's it at? This ring. Palsy Recolin. Yeah, it's going to let you, if you just chill them at all, to do chain cascading freezes, and it will just stomp the campaign. Later on, you're going to want to get a flat damage ring, though, and put that into the build, or you're going to want multi-flat damage things if you don't have Hands of Wisdom in action when you're leveling. Otherwise, it's pretty straightforward. You're just equipping those gears, and you can just run through the campaign. Playing Pillar, it's going to scale just fine. Okay, I forgot to talk about how to balance attributes. So this is a question that I get asked pretty frequently. How much strength, dex, int should I have? Strength is giving us life, and it's giving us increased damage. Dex is giving us accuracy and attack speed. Int is giving us mana, AoE, and flat damage. You have to decide how you want to optimize your character. If you're having trouble freezing, then you need to put more into strength. You want to go fast, you put more into dex. If you want bigger AoE and more flat damage, you put into int. So you have to decide that. Now, let's assume that you want to maximize your damage. How do you do this? You start flipping nodes and see what happens to your damage. So you go into the character screen and the respec, and you'll swap your strength into int, see if it goes up. If it does, then you continue flipping strength nodes into int nodes until it stops going up. And when it goes down, then you just set it back to the node that it was. Then you try with dex, and then see if it goes up. If it doesn't, then you're done. That's how you maximize it. If not, you keep flipping nodes until your damage stops going down. And that's all there is to it. You go around doing that. Okay, well, in my incoherent rambles, we're all the way down to just the boss setup. So for the boss setup, the only gear swap I'm doing is swapping my helm into this. I'm taking a bunch of this out. So I have a ton of attack speed there. I have attack speed here. Take these nodes out. And what I picked up was this. Non-critical hits is lucky. That's a huge more damage multiplier. By the way, I take out my AoE as well when I did the boss. And the other good, really good node here is this Wildstorm. 15% more maximum lightning damage. And then this lucky means it rolls the lightning damage twice if it's not a crit, and then takes the highest of the two. So adding 15% max and then this on top of it is really, really strong. The other part of the swap for the bosses, because you start having mana problems, is I took off my heralds. Instead of my heralds, as I ran mana revenants with lightning mastery, with clarity, and then because this gives you like 270 mana, or well, every 2 seconds when you're shocking the boss. So if you take a big hit, you could just repeatedly shock him a bunch and pick up the orbs to get your mana back. Remember also in the setup, and it is going to be in the max roll planners. I do have max roll planners for these things. I also picked up these, so I really didn't have to worry about mana. Okay, I think that covers everything. Let me know if you like this format or not. I know it was kind of like rambly and all over the place, but we got through the list, and I will timestamp everything. Have a good one.